Well, greetings everyone. This is our fourth Tales of Tarpon, and they've become very, very popular. Before I get started with tonight's event, I want to thank Tarpon Springs Library, Carrie, and all your staff for all the work you do in setting up and helping host this. And also St. Petersburg College, Andrew in the back, and Dr. Rod Davis, who does so much to help get the technical equipment here so we can record everything. I want to mention, for years, some 55 years, we had the annual Remembrance Tea. And I'm sure many of you have come to one of those. And this Tales of Tarpon has kind of taken the place of that. We actually were running out of founding families to actually keep doing that. But this is, it's so nice to listen to people, their stories, things that they have grown up knowing Tarpon or have come here and been newcomers and only stayed 50 years, So there's a lot to definitely talk about tonight, and we look forward to hearing from our guest speakers. And our first one is going to be Callie George.
Okay, so you want me to start? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
There you go.
Isa Kalam.
Kalam, yeah.
I'm Callie George. I'm born and raised in Tarpon Springs, and I will be turning 90 in 3 weeks. I know a lot about Tarpon. I've seen it, how it has moved from one to another, different things and everything. But basically, I love my community most of all. And I love my Greek people the most. Yes. I mean, they've been through a lot. They came, they put us on the map, and they have worked very hard. Now, I have things of my family that I'm going to talk about that has to do with Tarpon. In 1932, they murdered 3 Greek men in Cedar Key. And I have all the clippings. One of them happens to be my brother's brother. He was 25. And it was the constable that did it, and it was over a woman. Yeah, and I'm shortening it up quite a bit. But he really brutalized them. When I found the articles, my mother had them from 1932 in an envelope from St. Pete Times. And I had them laminated so that the Historical Society can keep them. But he totally brutalized them. I mean, he had shot the 2 men in the head, and the 3rd man, he sliced his stomach. And then he put him in the jailhouse and burned the jailhouse. But the people put the fire out before it destroyed the bodies. He thought he was going to get away with it. The jailhouse caught fire and they got burned, and that's how they died. But as soon as the coroner saw the bodies, he said these men were dead before the fire. And he got arrested. There was a 14-year-old boy that had witnessed a lot.
Tell us where it was. You can say to tell us. It was in Key West.
It was Cedar Key. This took place in Cedar Key, Florida. The boats would go there whenever the weather was bad, and it happened to be at that time. It was bad. It was the last of November in 1932. And my Uncle Theodore used to go with his brothers, but he had an argument, so he went with other people. And when they went there, it had so many boats already, they had to climb from one to another till they got out on shore. But he was 25. The other one was engaged to be married, and the other one was single. But he killed all 3 of them. And it was brutal. Like I said, the coroner saw it right away. He put the jailhouse on fire. But then the 14-year-old boy saw him. The men were trying to get back to the boat, and he was shooting at them with their feet. That's all written down in the article. So you see, Tarpon went through that. And that really hurt. The boats never went back to Cedar Key. They bypassed it completely. But we lost 3 good people. And the 2, Vincent had taken them to the church. And the 3rd one, my mother's brother, they took him to the house, his casket, his body. And his brothers carried it to the church. Yeah, that really got to me when I read it. Yeah. But my mother was very close to her brothers. She really was. And she was only 22 at the time. And my Uncle Theodore was 25. And then I'll tell you something different. And my mother she came to the States when she was 10 years old. She had 3 years of school. She could speak English without an accent. And she was ahead of herself, really. And so her brothers taught her how to drive a car. And every time some Greek lady needed to go to the doctor, they'd ask my mother, Mrs. Sebasti was her name, Sebasta. They'd ask her, can you please take me? My mother would take them. She had been to doctors' offices, hospitals, mental hospitals, insane institutions, besides Bain Times, and the tuberculosis place that was the TB place that was in Tampa. She was never scared. But she had fallen one day. The last one she took to the doctor, she went to drink water from the fountain and it had leaked. She slipped and fell and sprained her ankle. So she parked the car there. My dad wanted to drive it and he wasn't the best driver. So when they asked for scrap iron for the government, my mother donated her Packard to the government. Either 4,000 pounds or 6, I don't remember which one. I had the clipping, but I lost it. But she was very much ahead of herself, and let me tell you what, she is a staunch Democrat. You couldn't tell her anything else. Yeah, I mean, Tarpon is, I love my community. I love my people, whether they're Greek, American. We had African Americans working on the sponge boats that could talk better Greek than some of the Greek men. No, really, truthfully. They learned how to speak it, and they were very good. I said we were integrated long before they ever thought of integrated. I mean, they were very good with them. And when we went to school, we had to go home for lunch. We didn't have cafeteria. We had to go home for lunch, go back to school, and after American school, we went to Greek school for 2 hours, 5 days a week. That's Tarpon for you. And I mean, that's the best that I can tell you about it. They're great people. Some of them can get on your nerves. But I mean, they basically are very good. They're hardworking people, and they really put Tarpon Springs. The sponges put Tarpon Springs on the map. Yes.
Tell us about the church.
And the church. Now the church, they worked hard. My Uncle Mike was commissioner for 3 terms, but he was treasurer at our church for 17 years. And every sale that the sponge boats made in the sponge exchange, half of 1% went automatically to the building fund. When we completed St. Nicholas in 1943, it was fully paid for. The church was fully paid for, and it only cost $243,000 to build, because everything in the church, all the icons, everything you see in the church is donated by the families, Greek families. Yeah. St. Nicholas is very special to them. That was their patron saint. Oh yeah. We many times when we had hurricanes, we'd say, well, it's not going to come through here because St. Nicholas is guarding us. And yeah, well, I remember when I was working with Mr. Brolsheimer, and we had a bad storm. We had a hurricane sitting outside the Gulf for 3 days. He said, it's not going to come through here. St. Nicholas is here. By golly, it turned and went the other way. No. These are the stories that I know and to talk about Tarpon. I mean, they're good people. They got along good with people. They can argue very good. That's one thing they're good at. But they are basically very good human beings. That's Tarpon to me. Okay.
Thank you so much, Callie.
Okay, can I go sit over there?
If you want to.
No, I'll sit here.
Next, we're going to have Mike and George Fackless, and I think everybody knows them, and they're going to tell their story about Tarpon and give us some little side stories, maybe.
Well, I'm George. I'll be 89 in June 20th.
Which day?
The 20th, I'll be 89. So
I will be 90.
you older
June
than
20th.
I.
June 20th. Same day.
Same day, right. Well, I want to talk about Tarpon Avenue. In 1938, then Michael can go into the new year. We were known as Faculty's Department Store and Shoe Repair. However, at the time in 1938, we moved from Eagle Street, which is Pinellas Avenue. My father had the store named Eagle Shoe Shop. And we were where Acropolis is today. That was the store. Next to Acropolis was the White House Cafe. And then in the alley, there's an alley there, was the police station. They had one telephone and one car. And the jailhouse, you know where it is on Lemon Street. It's a beer place now. However, next was the depot. Now, that was the Atlantic coastline we used to go to. And there was a seaboard, another train that would go to Tampa. That's the train that my dad and a lot of would go to Tampa to buy the goods and stuff for the store. Now, a few years later, it was the war and things were different. You couldn't buy new shoes. You had to have a ticket, ration tickets. The shoes were rationed, as was a lot of groceries. It was Depression time also. And by 1941, my dad, 42, bought this. Publix wasn't there at the time. It was All American. The store that we're in, one of them, that's where All America, the grocery store, was. And they went next to it and they called it Publix. A&P was there. We had 2 movie theaters. And West Coast Army store was another store. Tarpon was there. Tarpon was one of the best stores. Next to us was Jenkins department store, which then became Harbor's, and then Harbor sold it to us, and we opened it up and made one store. The church was a wooden church. St. Nicholas. It was on the corner. The telephone company was where Hibiscus Street is. And the library was in an alley where the First National Bank was, the corner, which is now just chiropractors there and offices upstairs. There's an alley there. That's where the library was. But anyway, Tarpon was very busy at the time because they used to come from up north on the train. I'm talking the northern cities. They were small. They didn't have the shopping. Tarpon Avenue was a Tarpon, was the shopping center that we know of today. And it was really busy especially on Saturdays. You couldn't walk on the sidewalk. There were so many people there. The cars parked in an angle on one side, and the other side it was parallel. That's the Tarpon Avenue, and then this is Fackless. Michael will tell you the new part.
Well, we're both old timers, and so what we talk about is about the old times. So,
Except Michael.
this shows you a picture of downtown Tarpon Springs. It had 2 theaters, had 3 drugstores, grocery stores, meat markets, and of course, Fackless was there too.
Had 2 drugstores too.
Yes. There's Rexall Drugs. Later, another one was the Walgreens, the All Reliable drugstore. There were
Baylor's.
a lot of Boehner's was the Rexall store. Yeah, there was a lot of business going downtown because that people came from all around. They came from Newport Richey, they came from Dunedin, they came from Palm Harbor. There wasn't anything over there. Everybody came to Tarpon Springs. And of course, we grew up in the store, and that's where we worked all the time.
Amber alert, somebody is listening. Amber alert, they just put notifications.
Oh,
And today we are still there.
would they see if I can-
Somebody, told somebody or something, they asked them for some
My father came here in 1911, before, just at the time that Pinellas County was formed, because it used to be part of Hillsborough County. And this is a certificate showing that he was here then. He served in the World War I in the Army. Then he came back to Tarpon Springs and he opened the store with electrical machines, whereas before he was working by hand. Everything was hand tools. And the store grew, and we're still there today. And it's a good thing that so many people knew us, they know us, they still come, and we're still there, and we're thankful for that. And one other picture. Oh, this is a picture of the store. Shows the equipment that we have there. Some of the equipment, those 2 stitches, one is 1939, the other is 1941. The other stuff that I have is 1981, so that's new. Anyway, we're still there and we appreciate you. And that's my nephew, Vasily, and he's in there with us now. And he's become a specialist in orthotics, and he's a big part of the store too. And that's about all that I have.
How was it growing up on Park Street? Did you always live on Park Street?
Always lived on Park Street, West Park Street.
What was that like? How many were in the family?
6. There were 6 of us, and the folks were 8.
3 girls and 3 boys.
My father had that house built in 1924, and it's still there. And of course, the elementary school used to be across the street, and that the parking lot is where a lot of us played. They played baseball, they played softball. That was like a baseball park, even though it was just a sand lot. But that's all that we had. So this was a good community to grow up into. Years ago, I played in the band, and years ago, we went to Sarasota to play. Sarasota Sailors, Tarpon High School. Well, the band took us we didn't get back home till about 2 o'clock in the morning. And some sidewalks were broken on Pine Street. You had to walk in the sand. There was a bar on the corner. There were some men out there drinking, or they sounded drunk anyway. But anyway, the bar was closed. So I was walking home by myself, and it was kind of scary, not real scary because I knew a lot of the people there. Anyways, as I was walking, somebody tells the other guy on the bench that where they were sitting, he says, "There's a policeman coming." Because I was dressed in my uniform, band uniform. It says, the other guy says, "That ain't no policeman." He says, "Who is that?" He says, "I told you that's no policeman. That's Basili's boy." That's the shoemaker's son, he says. What I mean is how people knew us. People knew everybody. I knew some of them that were sitting on the bench, even though it was 2 a.m., and they knew us too. It was a good place to grow up in, good place to be from, and good place to be. And I thank you very much.
Well, if you have any questions, afterwards, we'll, invite those questions, okay? And so now we're going to have Coach Spinlaw.
First, I want to say how thankful I am that my family and I are members of Tarpon Springs, because we've enjoyed it and loved every minute of it. And I was asked to talk about high school and the conversion from the junior, senior high to the high school as it exists now. But before I do that, I think I ought to give you some background. I'm a neophyte. I'm an import. I'm not an native born. And I have a confession to make. The first time that I came here was a lot of firsts. It was on the Sunday before Thanksgiving in 1958. And not only was it the first time to Tarpon Springs, but it was the first airplane flight I ever took. And it was the first time I'd ever been to Florida. And I got off the plane, and within 12 hours of my leaving Kentucky, and we're natives of Kentucky, I was about 30 miles out in the Gulf, because Mike Scrulis, who taught with and then I started to say high school, college sweetheart, who's now my wife, had made arrangements for us to go out on deep sea fishing boat on the Commander, which the Belair's family had. And of course it happened that his sister was married to Johnny Belair's, and we got to go free. But it was quite an experience. That's the first time I never heard of Tarpon Springs before that. When they said we're going to Tarpon Springs fishing, I said, "Where's Tarpon Springs?" And now I know. And the next time I was here was in January of 1959. And again, Mike Scrulis, who taught with my sweetheart then, had heard that there was a coaching opening here in Tarpon Springs, and I had talked to his principal, who arranged a interview for me with Gus Sackett, was the principal. So I came to the interview, and we had a very pleasant interview, and he said, "I want you to come back on Monday and to meet with Coach Lanigan, who was the football coach here now, and we'll have lunch." And I said, "Fine, So I came back. Well, we went to the cafeteria for lunch, and of all things, they served kale. And I hate kale. But believe me, that day I ate it like it was the best thing in the whole world. But the strange things about this is I went back to Clearwater to Lisa's apartment, and I got a phone call from Gus Sackett. And he offered me the job that same day, and he wanted an answer right then. and all I could do was, my mouth was moving, but I wasn't saying anything, you know. I was still in graduate school and college, you know. I wasn't really thinking about going to work too much, and all I wanted to do was coach. But anyhow, I said yes, and that's how I got to Tarpon Springs. And Lisa and I got married that June of that year, and I finished up in graduate school in the summer, and graduated in August, and shortly thereafter we packed up a little 4x6 trailer and loaded mostly with wedding presents and arrived in Tarpon Springs. And either Tarpon Springs adopted us or we adopted Tarpon Springs, but I'm so thankful for both of those things because we've loved it here. We raised our family here. We have 3 children. They all graduated from Tarpon High. We have 6 grandchildren. 4 of them have graduated from Tarpon High. And I consider myself a sponger, even though I didn't go to school here. I'm a sponger by association, I guess you'd call that, and I always will be. Now, let me go, I've got that out of my system. Let me just tell you about it. The high school was the junior senior high school, and it's over where the city hall is now. And it was strange for me because my office and my classroom basically was the football stadium. And my office was the ticket booth of the football stadium. And it, being from Kentucky, I don't know, I think most of you know that Kentucky's famous for its basketball. So for me to see that they played basketball on a stage was shocking to me. And I was hired as a PE teacher and a health teacher, a 7th grade health teacher, and an assistant football coach and a head track coach. Well, after I got here, suddenly it was decided, and I think it was because they knew I was from Kentucky, that they decided it was my turn to be the assistant basketball coach. So I became a 3-sport coach at that time. And of course, Mike Thaklis was the basketball coach at that time. Not that one. Your cousin, right? Yeah. And I'm thankful for Mike Thaklis, and I'm thankful for Mike Screwless because they really introduced us to this town and got us started and took us in. But a little side story that I have to tell. We were practicing basketball, and we practiced on the stage. And at times we played basketball with other schools. We played outside. I couldn't, coming from Kentucky, I couldn't believe anybody played basketball on an outdoor court, you know. And sometimes we'd have to play, you know, in the afternoons because there's no lights on the court. But right at Christmas time, Maxine Goss, who I'm sure all of you remember, Maxine, was on the stage and getting ready and practicing for the Christmas pageant. And Mike and I wanted our kids, we had a game that night to shoot some free throws. So we went back in the gym and we started shooting free throws. Well, Maxine was practicing and he came over and said, "Would you all leave?" And we said, "No, we're going to shoot the free throws and then we'll be gone." Well, the next thing I know, here's Gus Sakis, and he's telling us that we need to leave and get off the court. And Ronnie had a big mouth, and it overflowed right then because I said, I guess I know who runs this school. And after it came out, I thought, oh my goodness, my days at Tarpon Springs High School are over. But I guess Gus was tolerant, and he let me slide by with that. But the high school, for 3 years, it was junior, senior high school. Then they built the new school, and everybody was so excited about the new school. And one of the things they were excited about was the fact that it was going to be air conditioned. But when the true facts came out and we moved, the only thing that was air conditioned was the library and the administration building. Nothing else was air conditioned. Now that's been changed now, but it was a disappointment to everybody. But for a long time after that, well, not a long time, but we still played our football games at the old stadium in front of the city hall now, and we had to travel back and forth. But eventually, with the help of Nick Cavacles, we got the football field built and got the track, which is dedicated to Nick Cavacles, because he, I think, called in some favors and got the track built kind of by the construction people for the road department. But that got us started and we got moved here. And I don't remember when we started having graduation on the football field, but I mean, of course it was after the football field was there, but I don't remember the year. But now it's a tradition to have it and have it outside, and I've been very fortunate that it's not been rained out, but that I know of about one time. But something else that I think that you'll get a kick out of is back then, the lines on the football field weren't painted on. They were done with marble dust, and they had to be redone every game. Well, it happened to be the PE teacher and assistant coach's job to line the field. So I would work all day on a Friday. We had a home game, lining the field, trying to run my classes and line the field, and I'd get it all finished. And here would come Mr. Kelly and his band. Well, Mr. Kelly and I dearly love each other, but we didn't exactly get along about that. I would, Henry, can they please just step them either on one side of the line or the other? Did they have to stomp right on the line? And he would tell me, "Precision, Ronnie, precision." And you know, Mr. Kelly, he had a new show. He went to every football game the band did, home and away, and he had a new show every week. And he was a terrific man and taught me a whole lot. But we managed to bury our hatchet about it, and I got along, and eventually they start painting the lines on the new field, and you don't have to do them every week. But Marge DeGrow was the women's PE coach when I came here, and Marge taught me a lot. She took me under her wing, and she taught me a lot. And we worked really well together, and it was so nice when we moved to the new school, and we were just grades 10 through 12. And we were small, probably somewhere between 500 and 600. And everybody, you know, kind of knew each other in the school, and everybody's family kind of looked out for everybody's family. And it just made it so nice. And Marge and I guess, were a little progressive and a little bit ahead of our time, because before Title IX came into effect, and I think all of you know what Title IX is, with equal opportunities for males, females, athletically, we started a program at the high school of co-ed PE, co-ed physical education. And we would, before every class, we'd line up around the court and alternate boy, girl around, do exercises. And then we went on to sports with carryover. We had archery, and we had badminton, and we played volleyball, and eventually we got a couple tennis courts. We played some tennis, but we were kind of ahead of our times because Title IX hadn't been passed yet. But once the school grew, why, that kind of went out the window. There were too many. And I was here at the high school until 1968. And at that time, I moved to Oak Grove Middle School as a dean of boys. And I was gone from here for a number of years, 18 to be exact. And Lisa and I talked about moving down county, so I'd be closer to work in that, you know. And our kids at the time told us, well, you can go, but we're staying here. We love Tarpon Springs. And they do love Tarpon Springs because all three of them have homes here now and work in and around the community. And it just pleased us, but it was so happy for me when I got the opportunity in 1986, and that I know that's not history. Well, maybe it is history now that I think about it, as old as I am. I got the opportunity to come back here as assistant principal. So I started my career at Tarpon High, and I finished my career at Tarpon High because I retired in 1990 there. And again, I just want to close by saying what a privilege it is to live in Tarpon Springs, and how good Tarpon Springs has been to me and my family and my wife, and how welcome we have always felt. And I thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a few things with you. And if you have any questions, I might know the answers. I don't know.
Does anyone have, I see a question right now, okay?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the first three speakers if they knew what the population of Tarpon Springs was just before the war.
Oh, it wasn't big, that's for
About
sure.
3,000.
3,000? Oh, I know.
Any other questions?
You know when you had electricity? Did we always have electricity?
We had electricity.
Pardon?
Yeah, we always had electricity, as far as I know.
Not air conditioning.
No, not the air conditioner, no way.
But I think even when I was growing up, I think the only people that had air conditioning was the movie theater. And I think, well, I remember my friend Mary R. Ferris, her dad had it in his bedroom. Any other questions?
Miss George, can you talk about your famous takeout window in your restaurant? You know, used to go out after hours to get your great sandwiches there.
I didn't think that I should talk about the bar. I'll tell you what, when my husband died very suddenly with a heart attack, I took over the bar, and I was totally green, believe me. And he did have a window where the kids would go when they were in high school and order their Cuban sandwiches. Because we were located where the with the bank here on the corner. That's where we were first. And then we bought the other center. And the kids still remembered him. And he was very good to the children. They'd go to the window and they'd order their Cuban, he'd make it, and we were known as the best Cuban in town. But then when Charlie died, I took over. And I'll tell you, what an experience. I mean, I was totally green. And the first day that I opened up, 10 days after he had died, the beverage department had told me. First of all, our liquor license, we had bought it from my uncles. And it was the first one issued in District 22 after Prohibition. Yeah, it was a very old license. And we bought it from my uncles. And we went. So I took over, and this man, my neighbor, comes. As soon as I opened the back door, he says, I have an arrangement with the police department that you're to keep this door closed. And well, he was Greek. So hell let loose with me. My son got petrified. I said, and I'm translating in English. I said, let me tell you something, you so-and-so. I said, God took the good man and left you the... My son got petrified. I said, you walk in this door one more time and try to tell me what to do with this business, and I'll put you in the nut house. That was my first day at the bar. But then Nick was still in college. He had a year to go, so he had to go back. Slowly, though, I learned. And I had a barred list that just about 200 people couldn't come in the bar. Some of my favorite people are the Spindler's son. They were the nicest of people. I mean, I really learned it. When I sold the bar, they were told it was one of the most reputable bars in Pinellas County. And I was very proud of it because I was strict. I used to tell them, let me tell you something, you guys. What you do at home is none of my business. What you do on my premises and in my business, I'll turn you in a second. So it was clean. I mean, I had a lot of problems. A couple of times they went to come at me. This man was talking about his mother, and I said, well, you abused your mother too, because she was going with a Greek diver, and he was talking about her, and he went to come over the bar. Something like 6.5 feet tall, big, huge guy. I said, touch me, you so-and-so, and I'll put you where you never get out. He backed down on me. I mean, I used to be able to handle it that way, but they used to come in after the softball, I think it was, and they would come in, and I would leave them, get behind the bar, fill their pitchers of beer. I'd go in the kitchen and put on I had the fryer going, and make them snacks for them whenever they would come in. Until today, wherever I go, and someone says, hi, Mrs. George, it's a former customer. They never ever called me Callie. When they said, what's your name? I said, Mrs. George, and it stayed that way.
I asked Todd today if he knew who Callie George was, and he said no. He said the only thing we knew of her was Mrs. G.
Mrs. George. Mrs. G and Mrs. George. And I really had some I went to lease a car at Furman's, and about 4 guys came running, Mrs. George, Mrs. George. He said they hadn't seen me in so long. But I've been out of the bar business 21 years. The doctor said if I didn't get out of it, I wasn't going to survive it. Well, I'm still here 21 years later. But I didn't think I should talk about the bar. No, we did. Yeah, we did. They had a good time down there. We had music every weekend. Every party I gave in Charlie's was free. Never did I charge. I had good people coming in. He's over there.
Any more questions?
No more. Enough for me.
No? You know, I want to mention, a lady brought this in. I don't know if you saw this. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, she brought me one at the store.
Yes, isn't that gorgeous?
That's nice. That's very nice. Yeah.
I was curious, what does this sign say? Why ladies' heels wear out? I didn't know. I haven't read it. It caught my eye.
The average lady has a step of 26 inches. She takes 2,400 steps per mile. Every day she walks 5 miles.
Go ahead.
A lady weighing 120 pounds hammers 731 tons onto her heels. A steel hammer weighing 120 pounds, striking at that rate, would have to be replaced in 3 weeks and would cut a hole a mile deep in 4 months, proving that ladies' heels have a right to wear out.
Well, that's cute. That's really nice.
That picture was entered in a contest.
Oh, was it?
Yes, and I think June the 5th, they're going to announce the winner.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's a winner, I
Yes.
think.
There was, I'll tell you, in the early years, Safford Avenue, they had a lot of wooden stores.
Frame buildings.
And my dad had a store there, and next to him was a restaurant, call it. And my dad said he would stretch his arms out like this, he would touch the walls. Anyway, he worked with my hands. The restaurant, there were sandwiches. So the train would stop and give them 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get out and get a lunch. So they went to this restaurant. He sold out of everything. All he had was split peas.
Lentil soup.
And soup. So the guy
Lentils.
says, I would like to have a sandwich. He says, okay. So he gets the lentil, puts it on the sandwich. And wraps it up, gives it to him, 10 cents. That's so when he gets on the train, he opens up the sandwich. And he
Lord have
bites on
mercy.
it and he says, now what the heck is this? He says, it's like, he calls him up and says, what kind of sandwich is this? He said, you asked for a sandwich, you got a sandwich. He said, this looks like baby shit.
Good answer. Good answer.
There was another one, the White House Cafe. One of the owners, Rothwell was one of the owners, and there was the other one, I forgot his name. My dad would give us a quarter every Saturday. We would wash the windows. My brother Nick, the dentist, and I, Michael was too young. We would wash the windows, we'd get a quarter. So Rothio told us to wash his window too. And he would give us a dime a piece, and then he would give us a little jug of milk that they used to come in small containers, and a pie that he made him. He was good at that. So here comes this donut man, and he asked this one man, he stuttered, the owner, not Rothio, the other. He says, how many donuts do you want? The guy, the owner comes out and says, you said it again? You making fun of me? But John Belushi was there and he got in the middle of it and stopped it.
Talking about the price of things, I wonder how many of you remember, and this happened shortly after I got here, was you used to be able to go down to the sponge docks, and if you took your own container, you could get 3 pounds of heads-on shrimp for $1. Those were the good old days.
Those were the good, you better believe it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I want to mention Mike Villarakis is here in Evelyn, and Tales of Tarpon was his idea, and he's on the historical board, and he says, you know, we really need to record this history that people, you know, tales of what they're talking about or enjoyed, and you know, living here all these years, and so this was your brainchild. Well, we got plenty of refreshments, I think, still. So we really appreciate you coming, and sorry that our president, Ed Hoffman, couldn't be here tonight, but I think we have a nice turnout, and we've had a good fun, a lot of good fun. So thank you so much.
Linda.